Hi everyone, my name is Danielle and welcome to another episode of Board Game Bakes. This week we're going to feature two games, Paris, La Cité de Lumière, which is Paris, a Sea of Lights, and Paris Eiffel, which is the new expansion. The new expansion adds some more postcards, and these let you have special abilities and cool little miniatures that you get to put on your board. We're going to recreate the cobblestone tiles from the base game and all the building pieces as Sablé Breton cookies. So this is kind of a version of a butter cookie, and usually doesn't have icing on it, but oh well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to put some more icing on it to make it even more delicious and at least more decorated. So let's recreate all these pieces. We got a lot of work to do. Let's go! As I mentioned, I'm continuing my habit of turning cookies that aren't usually covered in royal icing into my fun creations. This is a Sablé Breton cookie, which seemed to fit our Paris theme since it's a French salted butter cookie. What's even better is that you can make it without a mixer. You start by adding 6 egg yolks, which should be at room temperature, and 1.5 cups of icing sugar, not granulated sugar, icing sugar, to a large mixing bowl. Use a whisk to mix it together until it looks pale and creamy. Next, add 14 tablespoons of room temperature butter to your egg mixture. You want to make sure it's cut into little pieces because you're going to try and use the back of your spoon to incorporate all of it together to get a thick paste, which may take a little bit. 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Finally, sipped in 2 cups plus 3 tablespoons of flour. Measurements are a little funky since the recipe I found used grams. Keep mixing until it comes together and you can't see any flour. Pour it onto the counter and knead together any stray bits. Next, you're going to divide the dough in 2 and roll it out to 2 discs. Except you're going to keep rolling this out because you want it to be a 1/4 inch thickness. This way, after it sets in the fridge, you can just take it out and cut out the cookies immediately. To do this, you're going to put it between 2 pieces of parchment paper, and my rolling pin has a little measuring thing so I know when it's a 1/4 inch thick. Let this chill in your fridge at least 1 hour or overnight. Time to bake these buttery cookies. I was able to find a square in my cookie cutter stock that's roughly the same size as the ground tiles. You need 16 of these tiles for your board, or 16 cookies. Believe it or not, I didn't use my Cricut to make these stencils. I sat there with my son and I traced all the shapes I need onto a piece of paper and cut them out myself. Look at me go. Much quicker than trying to do it on my computer anyway. Each of the roof tiles are unique, so you only need 1 of each shape. The postcard pieces, such as the Eiffel Tower and the Arc de Triomphe, are also unique. However, you can cut out extra small square pieces, which can be made by dividing the square you use for your floor tiles into 4. These will be used later to make your postcard pieces stand up. Put your cookie sheet in the freezer for 5 minutes before baking, and this will make sure that the cookies don't spread in the oven. Bake at 325 degrees Fahrenheit for 12 to 15 minutes, and may take less time for the small pieces to cook. Try to bake the cookies that are similar size together, so this way you don't wind up burning the small ones by accident. Let them cool completely before decorating. Bonjour! While you're here, make sure that you hit subscribe for new videos every Tuesday at 12 p.m. EST. Thanks! Okay, time to decorate the cookies like they were sugar cookies. Adding sugar makes things better, right? Like always, start by outlining your cookies with thick royal icing. Use a thick gray color to create the 4 small squares on your street tiles. This way it's easy to color the different sections different colors later on. To continue with these guys, which are the cobblestone pieces, you need orange, blue, gray, and purple. The purple squares can actually be used by either of the players to place tiles in the game. I find it helpful to line the cookies below the corresponding tiles so this way I don't get confused about which color needs to go on which cookie. If the color block you're doing is larger than 1 square, just fill over the gray line barrier. Once all of your filled cookies have dried, it's time to whip out your edible markers for the fun task of adding vertical and horizontal lines onto all the spaces for bricks. This was a very tedious process, but it definitely helped the cookies look more like the game tiles. For the gray tiles, you can also use the black edible marker to add a lamp, which is very important in the game since they help adjacent buildings get points. Yay, points! Use a dot of yellow royal icing to give your lamp a bright light. Onto the buildings. All the buildings appear to have a spot that has the actual building with sidewalks surrounding it. So, outline the whole cookie with a thick tan royal icing, and then create another outline which is about 1/4 inch from the outside, and this will be where you'll house your building and fill it in. This is another time where it's helpful to get out the game pieces and line up the cookies with the pieces. I arranged them by color to make it easy to do all the ones of the same color at once. There are green, blue, and maroon buildings. Once your buildings are dry, use thick white royal icing to add the windows. The light has to get into the house, right? You can use edible markers to make sure the roof and window details match your board game counterpart. The last pieces are all part of the cool postcards you can choose during the game. There are 8 postcards randomly selected for each game, so there's a fun variability because you don't know which one will be used. The Paris Eiffel expansion adds even more postcards. It also gives you a score pad, which honestly I can't imagine telling the score without. The art style is blurred and pastel-y, so there isn't really a need to be super exact with the details. I decided to recreate the Eiffel Tower, which was done with the maroon, thinned out royal icing as a background, and then has a crisscross of white on top once the bottom is set a little bit. You can also use a little red edible marker to match the accents on the game piece. The obelisk was done with a golden orange, which is the same one that was used to create the orange floor tiles, and this is outlined with a brown marker. The most hilarious of my endeavors was recreating the Mona Lisa, because a copy of a copy made with royal icing is something that's more likely to make you laugh than remind you of the actual Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa may be small, but it's a little bigger than a postage stamp. The last large structure is the Arc de Triomphe, which is able to connect 2 of your building areas in the game and get you more points. It has a very pastel look to it, so instead of flooding the background, grab a bunched up paper towel and dab on some white to give it some texture. The remaining blue and brown details can be done with edible marker. Now the fun part, we get to make them stand up. Use some of the extra squares you created and glue them onto the back with your extra royal icing. You can use a cookie sheet or something to prop them up while they dry. And now you're ready to play the game! Thanks for watching another episode of Board Game Bakes. I really hope that you check out Paris Cité de Lumière and the Paris Eiffel expansion. It was a really fun puzzle-y game where you're laying down the tiles, but you had to keep planning ahead to make sure that you could actually place the pieces that you pick up. So it had a lot of different components working together, but in the end it was just a really nice, pretty relaxing puzzle game. What's your favorite puzzle game? Let me know in the comments below, and while you're down there, hit subscribe for new videos every Tuesday at 12 p.m. EST. Keep playing games and keep them sweet. Bye!